with your people pleasing, you're allowing every single person to get to you and inside your circle and inside your brain and your heart and your soul. And that's not always good, man. You got to be able to say boundary. You don't have to be mean about it. You have to say you could do it with love, but this is a line that you can't cross because I cannot allow it. And who gives a shit if you like me or not? I had to learn that, right? It's not me. I just like you have your own thing. And if you don't like my personality, the way I talk, the way I walk, the color of my skin, whatever it is, I don't give a shit. You don't determine how I can live. And so that's really something that I had to learn. Yes, I can get opinions. And yes, I should not ever react to opinions because their opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. But why do we have to care so much about what other people think if we're not doing anything that'll hurt other people?
Welcome to Normalize the Conversation by Inspiring My Generation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicheter. Today, I'm joined by Mark Labella, an award-winning screenwriter, producer, and creator of Nurse the Dead, a heartfelt series inspired by grief, healing, and his Filipino roots. In today's conversation, we're diving into PTSD, therapy stigma, people-pleasing, emotional overwhelm, and why healing doesn't always feel good at first. Mark opens up about delaying therapy after the military, navigating mental health in the Filipino culture, setting boundaries, and learning how to stop carrying everyone else's emotions while still holding on to empathy. We also talk about grief, identity, emotional burnout, and why therapy sometimes gets harder before it starts helping. If you've ever struggled with boundaries, felt emotionally exhausted, or questioned whether therapy is actually working, this conversation is for you. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited for our conversation, but before we begin, I want to check in. How are you really?
How am I really? Man, I am stressed. Is that a good word? We are hurtling toward post right now. And, we have marketing on top of that. And, as we were talking earlier, Fran, your friend also had my friend, our composer also had a thing that happened. So we had, actually, thank God that I have a musical, background, and I have two composers that are jumping on, and we have a friend who is this wonderful Emmy-winning composer named Denise Santos is also consulting on this wonderful, beautiful, beloved project of ours. And so we are also doing what it takes to make this as something that we can all be proud of.
Oh, I love that. But I hate the stress piece going in. I mean, it always makes for a good story afterwards, right? Like all the stress pieces, you're like, look at what we overcame to make it through. But during it, just it's like trying to catch your breath and not react. I'm such a reactor too. Whenever there's stress, I'm like, oh no, world is ending.
And you know what's worse about me? I'm an emotional eater. I eat because of stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a stress walker. So that my whole body hurts the next day because I'll walk 10 miles just to calm down.
Nice. Actually, that's really good exercise. I love that.
Yeah, it's great exercise.
Until if you do 10 miles.
Then my knees hurt, my ankles hurt. I'm like, wow, I'm feeling old.
Oh no. Oh man.
Wait, so
but it's a good way to release it is a good way to release your stress. It is.
It is. And I think it's something I've been learning lately, right? Is finding ways to release my stress that actually feel good. Because for some reason, when things are really stressful around me, I almost want to punish myself and make myself feel worse to justify that feeling of being stressed.
Wow. That's so crazy. I mean, my obviously we need therapy in our lives, right? So, that's something that my psychiatrist always says is go do something with that energy, right? That'll help. So for me, instead of eating my feelings, I try to go to the gym. So I mean, I wish my stress outlet was walking.
I mean, going to the gym is fun. I can't lift more than 3 pounds, so I'm useless at the gym. However, going to the gym is also fun. It's so how long have you been in therapy? Can I ask that? Do you mind?
I'm in therapy because of I was in the military for a bit, and I go to the VA for therapy, and it's something that I really delayed forever because I was like, I'm fine, and I don't know how, if our background, but a lot of Filipinos, we don't really go to do therapy, right? I told my mom once, like, Mom, I want to go see a psychiatrist. You know what she said to me? What? You're not crazy? And she's a nurse, right? So, I mean, even though we have a medical background, I mean, for us, mental health has not been a focus.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, thankfully, the generation is changing. And thankfully, my own views have evolved as well from that background I had of, like, but I knew I needed it. I've always known I needed it. I just never went in to see someone about it until, the ice cracked, shall we say.
Yeah. It's so frustrating to me how many of us think like we can't go to therapy, right? That stigma around it. I remember the first time I went to therapy, I was, I think, 12, and my mom was like, love her so much, but she was like, something's wrong with you. You need to go to a therapist, and made it like, well, you need to be fixed. So then I was so like terrified and embarrassed and had the shame about therapy until I ended up in a psych unit. And then I was like, oh, I actually do need help. How do I get that now?
Yes, amen. Like it wasn't for me until I was about to basically jump off a bridge type of thing, until I really was forced to seek help myself, right? Like I was like, okay, something's not right. I really need to deal with my issues with the PTSD and all those things that have happened, and just really start seeing someone about it, because it took me a long time of denial, right? To actually talk to somebody about how I felt about things. And I used to, I let it out through my art now, and I let it out through my writing, and try to find ways to deal with things versus the stuff that's going on in my head.
Yeah. We are also reactive as a society when it comes to mental health, right? We wait until someone is life or death to intervene, right? Yeah. We wait for ourselves until it's too much to finally go seek help. And then when we do, it's also such a hard process, right? Of finding the right therapist and then feeling comfortable and getting yourself to actually want to go each week or however many times you go. And I think one of my favorite things about therapy, once I finally really started getting into it, was those different forms of expression. Like you said, writing is a great way to, for me, it's like make sense of it and understand what's going on in my head, because otherwise it feels so overwhelming. How does writing help you? Curious.
Writing helps me in every way. Like that's how I wrote Nurse the Dead, right? Because of my grief during the pandemic, because I was a frontline. Yeah, I was working the front lines. My colleagues, my friends, my people I cared about, my patients, they died, right? I was there. I remember 18-hour days. It was Christmas. And I just remember coming home, and there was this beautiful spread that my husband did. And he was like, we're going to celebrate Christmas, okay? And instead of being happy and thankful and grateful, I was angry. Like I was, because I think it was, I couldn't fathom how we could be celebrating right now when I'm coming from home from 18 hours of trying to help people, And so that was really tough.
It had to be really difficult. First of all, thank you for being a frontline worker during the pandemic. I so needed, so appreciated. I don't think a lot of people who weren't really in it understand how much of a toll it takes on you as a healthcare worker, as someone who's actively in it. And one, the stress and worry and confusion of what is happening in the world right now. And then how do I help my patients when something so new is also happening, right? And we're still trying to figure out what to do about it. And then the loss of the patients. And then you have people's kind of comments and responses on what's real and what's not real, and trying to manage all of that.
Yeah.
And then holidays are happening, right? And you're supposed to be like happy and celebrating, but how do you celebrate when all of that is kind of hanging over you and you're just trying to figure out how to breathe?
Yeah. I think that's also why I realized that being a doctor was for me really something tough. I'm so sorry. That being a doctor was something for me not in my grasp as a person, because I carry it. I don't know how to. I've never developed that, the not caring so too much, because how can you help others when you're in their emotions with them, right? That's something that we have to remember. But for me, like, I couldn't let that go, and I would bring that home. As I just told you what had happened with me in Christmas. So, and it compounded, right? And it compounded, it became worse and worse. And so I think that you have to deal with stuff like that, because then you have your past issues, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then the writer's strike happened, and then you had no job, and then the actor strike, then you have no work in the entertainment, and you gave up your medicine, and it just compounded, right? And cognitive behavioral therapy really for me was the way to go, to deal with PTSD and whatever things that have gone through your head.
Yeah, first of all, love CBT. But yeah, that's so much. Love CBT. We can get into that. But it's so much is happening all at once. And it sounds like you have a lot of empathy, which can be such a great strength. But also, I know for me, being able to figure out how you draw that barrier, right? Because you don't, for me, it's like, I don't want to lose that empathy and lose that ability to connect and feel. But then also, how do I protect myself during it? How can I protect myself and still have it without it being something that becomes detrimental to me being able to do what I need to do?
I mean, I even when a friend tells me about their problems, right? And I'm like, it really affects me. And then someone goes, until my friend the other day was like, Mark, what are you doing? You're supposed to help your friend, not like be in the well with them. You're supposed to pull them out of it, right? Like, get out of it. Don't join them, you know? And so I see, even to this day, even with cognitive behavioral therapy, I didn't know how to do that. You know, but I just, it's possible, but it's my superpower as a writer. It's my superpower for what I do now, but it was my detriment as a doctor, right? As an MD or as a healthcare worker. It was my detriment because it compounds in your head and your heart, and you don't know how to let it go, you know?
Yeah. It's so hard. I like that story with your friend, because for me, I had to start saying, like, that's a them problem, not a me problem. How can I sit there and hold the umbrella in the rain without thinking it's my storm, right? And trying to change that in my head. And that idea of like, well, it's a you problem, not a me problem, in my head was like, how do I ever say that? But obviously you don't say it to them. But like the guilt of, I feel like I should take this on and be in it too, and being able to separate, like I can sit there and with you and hold the umbrella without taking on the storm. That was a big thing, but so hard to, like, especially in the beginning, right?
Yeah, I quit. I literally was like, I can't do. I literally told my psychiatrist, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. I thought therapy was like you come in and you feel good right after. I thought that's what therapy was. I had no idea. It was like opening a wound over and over and over and over until you're so desensitized to it that you're able to process it and slow it down and watch the train kind of go by. You just have to trust the process.
I used to hate when people would say that. I'm like, I don't want to trust the process. I want this to be done.
That's the same thing with film, right? I'm like, Mark, just trust the process. Stop trying to control everything. You're okay. We're taking care of you. Don't worry. It's, you know, so that's part of therapy, is learning to accept the things that you shouldn't be controlling, especially as a showrunner, man. Like, so many things are not in your control. Like, you have to just accept, right?
And how have you learned to do that?
I have people around me that I trust implicitly, and so I actually, when we go into an episode, I call it our trifecta. It was Drea Castro, one of our directors, and Wesley Villarica and myself, right? So there's always three of us in decision making, so that if I'm outvoted, I have to let that go. So for me, like, three heads are better than one. My own opinion is not always going to be the best opinion, and that I have to learn that and hone that, because you can't be around yes people, obviously. So Drea and Wesley are just so not afraid to be like, Mark, that was horrendous. Like, we got to do that again, and or we got to rewrite the scene, or we got to do something because the time is running out, or something, right? Like, whatever it is, we have to work with what our limitations are. And I feel like that was, for me, the best thing, is being surrounded by people, yes, who support you, but also will tell you the truth. And, like, if there's a consensus, I'm with it. And that's how that helped me with that kind of walk around my need to control things. Someone literally went up to us like, Mark, that looks like shit, like literal shit. Like, and I was like, are you serious? Are you really? And then they were like, yeah, like, it looks like a fifth grade, performance, whatever's happening. And then I'm like, okay, all right. I gathered my department heads, and everyone just started telling, okay, we can do this. Everyone just chipped in. And that's, for me, what was the best day on set, when someone was telling me, Mark, it looks like shit, do something about it. And I love that, because then we can all put our heads together and we can come up with a solution that we all have.
It sounds like being open-minded to other people's perspectives and thoughts was really helpful. I feel like it's so easy to stay so close-minded. I love that's one of your favorite days, is listening to people and taking in that feedback, incorporating it, and actually creating something together. Because a lot of times we see creativity as a solo act, right? This is mine. This is my vision. And it's so hard to open it up to others to be able to create our vision.
And it's no longer yours, right? Like, once you create it, that's someone once told me. That's why I get very unhappy when there are aspects where this is what we created and you're not getting my input. You're not asking for my input on how things are put out into the world, for example, right? For me, that was hard for me to deal with as well. Is like, if this is how I run my set, with compassion and kindness and asking for people's input, I would love for you to give me the same respect in the things that we built, so that was something that I had to personally also kind of process right now, as I deal with people higher than me. And that's something that I have to also trust the process on.
Do you find it hard to kind of speak up for yourself, for that communication piece at all?
I'm finding my power now. Actually, when my friends are around, so, Mark, you gotta speak up. I mean, this is not like they're treating this like their own. And if you don't say something, you're going to regret it, because this is something that you really put your heart and soul to. And I have to say something, because I wouldn't be able to live myself if I didn't.
How did you begin to actually find your power, find your voice, right? Because I think a lot of people...
I still don't have it. I'm still finding it.
What is that? Like, is there... So a lot of people... I know for me, when I start trying to learn to speak up about something, so much fear enters my brain. And this is where CBT has been really helpful too, is being able to recognize it and rewrite the thoughts. But I guess for people listening who maybe want to speak up for themselves in some way, how are you slowly finding your power and learning?
I find that you have to do it in love. I know this sounds crazy, but if you love someone enough, you have to be able to tell them the truth about what is happening, how it's making you feel. Because I used to come from, I start speaking up when I'm pissed off about something. I had a tendency to go into anger at myself, at the world, at the situation. So I find that after therapy, I was able to talk to somebody and say, "Hey, this part," and I have to give that direct feedback on set. I have to be honest with you if the performance isn't right. So how do we work together? And I have to come from like loving the craft that we're doing and this mission that we're doing, because I think that me being the leader of a set, it spills over to my people if I'm not mentally right. And I noticed that like behaviors of mine are being mirrored everywhere. You see it as a showrunner. You see it. I do something, say something. I see it being mirrored to every single person in my cast and crew. That's just a given, right? You would think that me as a therapized person would know that, but I saw that in real time. So I have to be very careful how I talk to people. I have to make sure that I treat people with the same respect, because that always goes downhill. Shit rolls downhill, right? Whether if it's positive or negative, it rolls down to the entire cast and crew. And so whatever emotion I have, whatever mental stresses I have to be careful about what I say and what I do, because people will mirror that in my team.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's also so much easier to finally get the nerve to speak up when you're coming from that place of anger, because you're like, I've had enough. Like, now I have a voice. But being able to see how that isn't always productive or constructive, because it does impact everyone around you. Your energy impacts everyone else's energy. So when you're able to come from a place, I have one friend who always says, love harder, right? When you have like that anger or that reaction, right? You want to react to something. What would love do? And then try to push into that. I don't know how she does it, because I'm so a reactive person. I'm trying to learn to breathe and then respond instead of react. But I love the idea of shifting from a place of love, of respect, of compassion, of kindness, because it's so easy for us to get stuck in that anger and then hold on to it and allow it to fester.
I read about this, or I can't remember how I'm starting. I'm starting this thing where I visualize my anger coming like a train coming in. I just have to wait until the doors start closing on that train and it leaves my station. I mean, I've had to visualize that lately too, right? Sometimes I'm not perfect. I let it out a little bit, but I have to say, like, people, there's a reason why a therapist, I'm so happy that I was able to do this after therapy, because people were saying it was the best set they've ever been on because of how everyone was being treated, right? Like, I really practiced service leadership. I really practiced being able to listen and practice the fact that I don't let the stress take over me, because I had come from a place of joy. And this is a very small project, Fran. Like, this is like do everything independent project. I was driving the van at midnight, carried cameras at 4 a.m. the next day just to make sure that everyone is, we're ready. And, that's coming home, doing rewrites, and setting up scenes, planning shots with the team. That's the kind of work that you have to do, with the work that we did. And as a showrunner, I have to be able to be emotionally okay. Physically, I was like so sick at the end of the shoot. Thank God it happened at the end. But emotionally, thank God, thank you, Lord, that I had the tools to uplift as opposed to punch everyone down. And so I think that's why people are so in love with the work that we do and are so happy with the time that we had together, because of not letting my own mental health issues, my PTSD spill over, because it does. It spills over to the people around you. And I'm so happy that I had therapy before I did this.
Therapy makes such a difference. Like, you really learn the tools to be able to, and like you said, not being perfect, right? It's still going to happen, but being able to have that awareness and have actual tools in place that you can use makes such a difference. And I feel like that's such an underrated part of going to therapy. A lot of people, we talk a lot about processing, but not about all those takeaways that actually impact your day to day.
Exactly.
What is your favorite tool you've learned in therapy?
Writing it down with, so what I did the CBT, the writing one. So writing it down and processing, because I love writing, right? So I wrote it to write down and process. Is what you're saying in your head actually making sense? Is it like, because we are so good at lying to ourselves, convincing ourselves that what we're thinking and feeling is right as the amygdala takes over. And you stop and you think, what are the proof that what you're saying to yourself is actually true? Because you're being a little crazy right now, you know, and with your reaction, because it's unfounded. And I think that's important, that you understand that the earth isn't flat, even though your amygdala says it is. You know, so I think those are the important things that I learned in CBT.
That was a big one for me. I used to write down my thought and then like true, false, line in the middle, and all the reasons that I thought the thought was true. And it was always like, well, I feel, or someone else said, or like this reaction happened. And then when I could find one reason it was false, I was like, well, now it's an opinion, not a fact.
Yes.
But all of the true, what is coming from external sources or my emotions, not what was actually happening in the situation at hand. And when I was able to see that pattern, night and day. I mean, granted, I still am so stressed that I'll walk 10 miles to calm down my thoughts. So it's not like I've really figured this out, but it made such a difference being able to actually write it down and see it on paper. Like, oh, this is what this thought is. What is my brain actually trying to tell me? That was a big thing too, to be able to really not just identify it was false, but then rewrite it with some kind of compassion for myself.
And one of the things that's really crazy about me is people pleasing. That was part of my you know, after effects of trauma for me, and really this incredulous need to please others, which will eventually destroy your relationship with them, because you're just gonna pent up just to please someone until it blows up, right? So I think that's another thing, is like creating that boundary, stop people pleasing, even though I still have it, right? But really being able to say, stop, no, not comfortable with this, not a fan of this, let's not do that. You know, yeah. So that was one thing that I learned in therapy too.
It's really interesting how much our energy impacts others, and how learning how to be able to have that awareness of how we're feeling and be able to actively implement the tools that we've learned, so that we're not faking the happiness, but we're actually being able to cultivate some joy and brevity, even in situations where everything feels so stressful and overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to like really love what you do, love who you're around, be around people that make you feel loved and love them, as opposed to make you go, oh man, this person is not a good person. What am I doing here? You know, I mean, and this is something that one of my therapists said too is, dude, you're in a business where you're surrounded by narcissists. You know, you have to learn to create a boundary between those type of people and say, that's, you're not crossing this line here.
Yeah.
Because with your people pleasing, you're allowing every single person to get to you and inside your circle and inside your brain and your heart and your soul. And that's not always good, man. You got to be able to say boundary. You don't have to be mean about it. You have to say, you could do it with love, but this is a line that you can't cross because I cannot allow it. And who gives a shit if you like me or not? I had to learn that, right? It's not me. I just, like, you have your own thing. And if you don't like my personality, the way I talk, the way I walk, the color of my skin, whatever it is, I don't give a shit. You don't determine how I can live. And so that's really something that I had to learn. Yes, I can get opinions. And yes, I should not ever react to opinions because their opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. But why do we have to care so much about what other people think if we're not doing anything that'll hurt other people?
Yes, exactly. And it's like no one else can control our thoughts, feelings, or behaviors unless we allow them to. So why are we so focused on trying to control everyone else's?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so hard not to take it personally. That's something I've really been working on. Like, how do I not take other people's opinions and behavior personally? Because it has nothing to do with me, right? If I'm being reactive, I'm probably in a bad mood. That is not anyone else's fault, but me not coping. Right? Me not taking time to breathe, to catch my breath. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I'm projecting my own anger and frustration and exhaustion onto other people. They're likely doing the same, right? Everything is based on your own perspective too. So to sit there and feel so kind of devastated and overtaken by other people's opinions of us, so like it's so counterproductive, yet it's so easy to do.
Yeah. And I had to learn that, right? Oh, you don't like me? Sorry. You know, I really had to learn that because your opinion should not determine how I live my life and who I am. And I mean, I'll give you an example, right? I was going through therapy. No one in Philippines knew that I was married to a man. Right? I mean, because it's a very conservative place. My family's very conservative. It wasn't until I did Hello, Love Again, which is a film, and that film became the highest grossing Filipino film of all time. I was in front of the camera with my husband as my husband. And my mom didn't want me to tell anybody. I mean, it's also a big stigma for her because she really cares about how other people think. And the star of the movie, who's the biggest star in the Philippines, said it during a live taping, actually a previously recorded taping. So I didn't join them in those interviews because I had a project in Texas. I was flying over there for the rest of the mall shows in the Philippines because we were doing mall shows for that movie. And my husband calls me and goes, "Hey, Catherine Bernardo said that you're married to me in that we're a real life couple," and it's not her fault, but I had to learn to like, okay, what do I do? Oh my god. So what I did, so that obviously I don't want her to get like make her feel like I was outed or something like that because it wasn't her fault. She didn't know. So then my next mall tour, I worked with my therapist, and I said, it was in Cebu. My hometown was the next mall tour, the one I was joining. And that was my family is pretty known. My uncle was the mayor in that city. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands. Like you can't see past where people aren't. That's how many people there were around us. And so I said it like, this is my real life husband, right? Like my real life partner. And surprisingly, people were like cheering and like so supportive, and my family was down with it. They were like, "How come you never told us?" You know, like, because I was just so worried about. I ruminated over this my entire life, especially because as an LGBT person, you hide so much of yourself for so freaking long because you're so scared about what other people will think or feel or say about you, that it was just embedded in me, in my personality. That was who I am, especially as an actor, right? As a public facing figure at that time. And I really had to learn, like, dude, that was the hardest way for me to stop caring. It was like just really ripping off the Band-Aid and just letting the wound out there. You know, it's the ultimate therapy.
What was that like, that moment where you suddenly didn't feel like you had to hide a piece of you anymore?
It was like years of weight off my shoulders and years of like, why in the world were you so freaking worried about people judging you about who you are? I mean, you look at this. I mean, if we're doing CBT, you look at the statistics. Most people don't give a damn if you're gay, right? It's just you can't please everyone, and that has to be the truth that you have to allow yourself to feel and know and understand. And really, if you're gonna fight me, let's fight. But this is just who I am, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. Being able to shift from I need to please everyone else and fit in this identity that makes everyone else feel comfortable and safe and happy is so powerful when you can shift back into what makes me feel good. Being able to really discover who you are outside of the fear of everyone else's opinions, and then being able to share that piece of you without the background noise making you question yourself.
I love the feeling that, yes, you're going to judge me, but how is that am I going to let that affect me? Because everyone has their own little opinions, right? And they change from time, hour by hour, minute by minute. Someone can love you one minute and the next one, oh, I don't want to talk to this person right now. You know, like it changes. So, and I put so much stock in what people said about me, so much stock in what I hear that people said about me. And I cared so much that it overwhelmed me and my being so much that it crippled me. And thank God I'm at my point now that, oh, you said something about me? Okay, we don't have to work together. Or you don't like how I ran this? Okay, you don't have to work with me. You don't have to be a part of this. I can move on. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to be coworkers. We don't have to work together. That's okay, you know? So like boundaries really, really are for me a big deal.
Boundaries are they're so fun once you start really learning how to set and enforce them. Right? Yes. It's like, I don't actually have to be around people who don't make me feel good.
Yes.
Right? Like, we don't have to hang out all the time. I don't have to let people drain my energy. What a concept.
Yes. I had a friend that was like, a friend was telling me, oh man, I don't want to hang out with this person because they are always insulting me. They're finding ways to insult me. I was like, we can succeed without them. We don't need them. No matter how powerful they think they are in this industry, Hollywood is falling apart in the first place. They don't have as much power as we're giving them, right? And so you see these YouTubers breaking box office records now, right? So, dude, let it go. It's okay. They don't have to be in our circle. They don't have to be a part of us. And look at us now. We're doing so much better than them.
Yeah. Really being able to own, like, we can choose our own path, our own circle, our own everything. We don't have to live for or by other people's opinions and perspectives. But as we are wrapping up, tell us a bit about Nurse the Dead.
So remember what I told you about the work that I did in the pandemic and things like that? Like, it was so bad sometimes that I actually went to a distillery company and convinced them to make hand sanitizers for us for like 50 cents a gallon because there are no hand sanitizers, right? And it really took a toll on me, but it really took a toll on my community. I don't know if you know this, but Filipino Filipinos are the number one immigrant nursing population in the United States.
Oh, wow.
But we actually only make up 4% of all nurses, and yet 30% of the nurses who died during COVID were Filipino.
Wow.
It's huge statistic. There's a discrepancy there, and I think it's because it is the Filipino nurses that are in the inner cities and the higher density population places where there are a lot of people died from COVID and things like that. And in our community, my mom is a nurse, but her best friend's a nurse, and her best friend died in COVID, and her best friend's husband died and leaving 3 kids behind. I mean, that's the kind of impact that we had in my community, right? And so I really wanted to write a show that's centered on grief and healing and compassion and Filipino nurses. And that is what Nurse the Dead is. Not just Filipino nurses, but nurses, period. And this is a show about the stages of grief. Each season is a stage of grief. So I have a 5-season plan. Denial is the first season. It's a comedy though, right? And comedy comes from pain. And so yeah, I couldn't just have a show that people are crying all the time. That's exhausting, to watch, So it's a comedy, and it's this heartfelt, beautiful comedy about community and dealing with grief. And grief is universal, and the love for community is universal, and finding a community that loves you and supports you no matter what. That is what the show is about. And this is about this young lady named Noah, who is a young nursing supervisor who has a third eye. And she works so hard she fights so hard to be the nursing supervisor of the most haunted ward in all of Los Angeles, a failing ward. And you're wondering, and her mom works there, her overbearing mom. Like her mom is based on my mom. My mom is probably the most overbearing mom you'll ever meet. Maybe, I don't know. Some people will fight me on that. But my mom is the only mom in the history of the United States Navy to infiltrate the Navy barracks at 6 a.m. She just showed up.
Wow.
In the military, all male military barracks. And I didn't even know how she got on base. To this day, we still don't. I was like, Mom, how did you get on base? Like, you're a civilian. How did you do? I mean, I don't, like, moms have a way, And it's because I didn't answer my phone for 2 days. That's the mom's character based on. And so you're thinking, okay, this girl is like going crazy. She's working in a ward with the most really haunted ward that's going to make her job difficult. She's a nurse supervisor, and her mom works there. Like, what is she doing? But as we peel through the layers of the pilot, we find out why she works so hard there, because her mom is one of the ghosts. And so her mom kind of passed away there during COVID, right? And so that's why she works so hard to be there. And like, for me, it touches me now because that's how beautiful how the show and the people have been working on it, how much heart they've been putting in it. And so I'm really excited for people to witness the show, the heart, the healing, and just being able to just enjoy and building a community that supports you and loves you of all different cultures, and it's really reflective of Los Angeles and how people would speak different languages, people who are Latino and Caucasian and all these, and Black, and all these different cultures just coming together to help people. And in her case, help ghosts and deal with them at the same time. And so I'm hoping, Fran, that you'll watch and enjoy the show as well, and hopefully you'll be able to join us during the premiere, and come celebrate this with us.
Love that. I can't wait to watch this. And it sounds like you took a lot of grief and pain from the experience that you went through and turned it into. It sounds like maybe writing was a way to process it a bit and then turn it into a form of healing and community for not just yourself, but others, which I think is really powerful, because it's so easy for the grief to take over us, right? And everything that happened during that time period, really to take away the even hope of healing, of community. Things start to be filled with so much despair. For you to take all of that experience and create something that will make people laugh and make people feel and bring together this idea of really being connected and supported. That's amazing. I'm really excited for this show.
Thank you. And that's how we ran our set. So I had to I mean, people get stressed, right? Because especially for such a scrappy little show. But I told them, guys, you have to come from joy with this because I've dealt with life and death. What we're doing now isn't. Like, come from joy and enjoy every process. And it's hard freaking work, man. It is. But enjoy each other, enjoy this, because there will be no other time that we get to make history on television. This is the very first Filipino studio series in the history of Hollywood.
That's incredible. Congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I'm just really excited about it and grateful. And at the same time, I'm fighting for it to be seen out there. And people, that's why I'm very, very also much a soldier and a defender of the work that we do.
Bringing in the joy of it. I think that's a great place to wrap up this episode, right? Is find ways that you can bring joy into everything you do, right? How can we always come from a place of love for ourselves and for others and for the work that we do? Like you said earlier, you know, it's important to love what you do. And if we can come from that place, what a difference, even when everything feels very dark. It's little bits of stars and light when you have that little bit of love still within you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.